Old Guy Talks is all about creating a kick-ass life for yourself and those that you love. Don't wait, don't hesitate, don't procrastinate. Opt in now. This is Ors, the old guy from www.oldguytalks.com, here with his guest Ryan Smith, VP Biochemist at Tailor Compounding. But before I get into that, I got to get through some stuff here. First of all, the old guy has been working. He has been working and working and working, and after over budget and overdue, finally got done with his first ever digital info product for you, especially if you are a man or know someone who is suffering with erectile dysfunction or dissatisfaction. I have a product that you may be of interest to you, and it's basically some information on cutting edge medical therapies. No cheap shit that you buy on the internet or back of a magazine. This is medically supervised therapies, and you can find out about them in the comfort of your own home without risking any embarrassment. So oh, by the way, I forgot to mention where you can find them. You can find them at www.myjunkdoesnotwork.com. You heard that correctly, myjunkdoesnotwork.com. That's easy to remember. So, Brian, unfortunately, you have to follow that little commercial. So tonight in the house, I have Ryan Smith, biochemist at Tailor Compounding. Ryan, he attended Transylvania University. He got a degree in biochemistry, then went to University of Kentucky for a short while and studied medicine there. And after he attended medical school, and then he decided that, well, this was not something he wanted to do, and he got himself a job as formulations for pharmaceuticals. And so he's a smart guy. And I had Ryan on the show before here, and one of the things I have to do is I have to keep Ryan. He needs to kind of keep the science techno talk down. We're going to keep it down so it's understandable to us mere mortals that are here listening to this and participating in this program. But before I do, I need to keep Sue, the IP lawyer, happy. And I need to read this disclaimer. This is information only. Consult with an appropriate professional before starting any program. Do not be stupid. You're responsible for your own shit. The old guy's a capitalist and not a socialist weasel. He will be promoting stuff, and you can be assured that he only promotes stuff that he uses or would consider using. You will have, not you may, you will have different results. So welcome, Ryan. Welcome back, and we get looking forward to hearing some talk about weight loss tonight. But before we do, I want to get some things out of the way here. And for a lot of listeners here, especially those that kind of are in this space, peptides have had a bad name in the past. And so I want you to talk about, first of all, what you guys do at Tailor Compounding to regulate the quality of your peptides, and what your relationship is with the Federal Drug Administration.
Sure, yeah, definitely a loaded question there, but how we're regulated by the FDA, that tends to be the one thing which establishes both credibility, but also has some tricky caveats to it. And so I always go back to in a couple of years back there was a problem with compounding with the New England compounding pharmacy that had some unsterile preparations of product, and since then, if you're not familiar with it, you can definitely look it up. But since then, the federal government is taking a much larger role in compounding pharmacies, and so we are definitely regulated by the FDA. We had an inspection a little bit last year, and the things that they always want to see are make sure that the product is sourced from an FDA manufacturing facility, so they know that the product is exactly what they want. And then beyond that, they take all this. We as a compounder take all the steps that we need to in order to make sure that it is made efficacious and arrives to the patient as an effective product, but also a sterile one, devoid of any type of contaminant. So that is sort of the major, I would say, overlying things that the FDA wants to see. But beyond that, we take quality in some of these products very, very seriously. We tend to be a little bit cutting edge. And so a lot of these products, which you traditionally would see on the internet from a variety of different websites without doctor consultation, That's not the business we're in. We're in the medically supervised business of providing these to patients based on physician scripts. And so we make sure that it's exactly what we say it is, that it's the best formulation possible, and that we always try and bring new and innovative tools for the practitioner as well.
Yeah, you mentioned physicians, and so let's talk about these are not something. These peptides are not something that doctors readily are knowledgeable about right now in mainstream. So you have a set of doctors that you train and work with. How, and you also have a referral process, so somebody could contact Tailor Made Compounding, send you guys, contact you guys, and find a doctor in this area, in their area, that has been trained by you. How do they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I see you put the link there at the bottom of the video, but I definitely recommend clicking that. We have several forms to contact us on the entire website. And right now we are licensed in 46 states and have distribution just about everywhere, or know a good physician who can take care of you. And so once we get learn a little bit more about you and what you're looking for, we're happy to direct you to the right place. And we do a ton of education. The physicians who work with us always do a heavy amount of onboarding, a heavy amount of reading. And so if they're getting product from us, most likely they're some of the most skilled at some of these newer and more innovative products.
Yeah, I'm working with one of them, Ramon Esquerdo, and I've actually had using the BPC 157, which is for soft tissue injuries or tendon injuries, and I've been fighting a chronic bicep tendon for over 2 years, and it's working. It's taking a time, but I think the longer you have an injury and the older you are, the longer it takes to heal. So but I do notice a progressive improvement, which I have not noticed in quite a while. So last thing before we get into the weight loss thing, what types of peptides are out there to treat what types of conditions now?
Sure. Yeah. And as a general recap, it's all over the place. I mean, if you can think about any condition, most likely there's a peptide to treat it. And it sort of all goes back to how your body is designed. It's meant to take, DNA and express the DNA in proteins and peptides. That's the actual fundamental building blocks of how the body regulates its processes. So every process in the body can be affected by peptides as drugs. Right now, there is explosive development in this area. Only 8% of only 8% of FDA-approved drugs are peptides, but they definitely anticipate that number doubling or tripling in the next 10 years. It's a new wave and frontier. Traditionally, though, peptides are, I would say, most often thought about in the major 3 areas, cancer, cardiovascular disease, and metabolic disease, which we'll be going over to some degree here as well. But then beyond that, people always think about, repair and recovery, sexual function, and typically they're associated with some of the growth hormone derivatives as well.
Okay. And you do have some things in terms of neurological benefits that help people neurologically?
Yeah, that's one of the big areas of development as well. And we have an expansive list that's actually growing and growing just due to the amount of development. So even since the last time you and I spoke on this podcast, there have been 3 or 4 new neurological peptides, which are definitely worth considering.
Okay, well, let's talk about it. Why don't you tell? You know what? I'm going to save that for later. We'll do that because we promised everyone we're going to talk about weight loss, and so let's talk about weight loss. Let's talk about fat people. The old guy, he'll because he can do it because he has been fat, so he's not afraid to step into the fat shaming place. I guess I don't even know what that means anymore. I'm too old to figure out this shaming thing. So let's talk about the peptides that are available to treat obesity, and what is out there, and let's talk about what's out there.
Yeah, well, there are definitely a lot of different strategies to treat weight loss. Some people like revving up metabolism. Other people like fixing insulin sensitivity. Other people like increasing muscle to again burn more calories. And so there are several ways to do it. I would say the most predominantly the biggest way in the medical community tends to be via optimization of hormones. And growth hormone is one of those that can be optimized for sort of a maximal result in terms of weight loss. Growth hormone itself has been studied for several years to be extremely, lipolytic as well as sort of anabolic for muscle tissue. And so that is one of those that can really cause a difference in weight, especially when combined with all the lifestyle therapies such as diet or exercise. But in order to increase growth hormone, the peptides do this a little bit more naturally than just giving growth hormone to an individual. They actually work with your pituitary to increase its natural production of growth hormone. And so we were able to sort of get those in regular levels of growth hormone up, but do it in a little bit of a safer, more natural way.
Mm-hmm. And so which particular peptides do you have that do that?
Yeah, so there tend to be, I would say, two highly prescribed ones. One is the CJC 1295. That's usually combined with another product called ipamorelin. So we always sort of speak to them in the same regard. Samorelin is another one that people are probably familiar with out there if they've researched this at all. That tends to be an older generation that we've moved on past a little bit. And then the best generation and the newest one is the tesamorelin, which is an FDA-approved drug.
Okay, so you're gonna have to check my spelling here.
Sure.
So I'm gonna write these in here now. Hopefully, I can't figure out how to do that right now. I'll do that later on. So how are these peptides administered?
Yeah, that's one of the drawbacks about peptides as a class of medicine, is that there are unfortunately very few that are orally bioavailable or available as a sublingual tablet or a nasal spray or a transdermal cream. Most of them are still only available as an injection. And so most of these are given as an injection with a very, very small needle into usually fat tissue right around the stomach.
Okay. And when let me see here. Let me see. Tell me if I got this spelled right here.
Yeah, there's a TESAMORELIN, but yeah, that's very close.
TSA. You may not know this, but the old guy is dyslexic, so spelling has never been a strong point. So,
I
so I think that's the correct spelling. So it's administered via a shot, a small with a little like that somebody would use for insulin or diabetes.
Absolutely. Yeah, 31 gauge insulin, diabetic insulin syringe. And usually it's given at night to mimic that natural growth hormone peak. But again, if you do it at a fasting level, it can sometimes help with more of that fat loss type effect.
Okay. And what was the other thing that you said that's combined with it? What was it?
Unfortunately, I don't come up with these names, but it was CJC 1295. And we combine that with ipamorelin, IPAMORELIN.
Let's see if I. Oh God, CJ. What was it?
CJC. Yeah.
CJC. What was the numbers after it?
1295.
Yes, these are all easy to remember names. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, actually, yeah. One of the CJC actually stands for Conjicam, which is the company that developed it. And so hopefully that will help some people remember.
Yeah. These are all, like medication, like the actual names for drugs. Who knows why? Who knows why? Typically, what kind of a response can someone expect? Let's say, where, is it someone that has wants to lose 5 or 10 pounds, someone wants to lose 30 pounds, or both, or what kind of patients normally get this kind of stuff?
Just about everyone, I mean, can benefit from it, whether they're super overweight or they're just moderately overweight. And again, one of the things that this is particularly good at is the tesamorelin is particularly good at reducing visceral adipose tissue. And so that's not the kind of fat you would typically think about. It's fat that's particularly just around the midsection, but also around the organs. And that's a really, really unhealthy type of fat, which can provoke other types of disease.
Yeah, no, that's actually the worst kind of fat. Typically, how long, this is a question everybody always wants because everybody wants to do everything instantly, get everything fast. What is the how quickly do people lose weight? What's your kind of finding as an average? Because I know everyone's very different, but
Yeah.
what's
It's incredibly different, and I know that's not the answer that anyone's looking to hear, but it really depends on commitment. This is what this tends to do is multiply any of your other efforts. That's the best way I think to put it. Is it multiplies what you're doing in your diet, what you're doing in your exercise, but it's not a standalone product. Some of the other products I think which are really good for weight loss. I don't mean to transition from the growth hormone products, but there are also some really exciting small molecule products that are not peptides, but are still worth knowing about. One of those is called tesofensine, TESOFENSINE. And that one was actually originally studied for Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. So I know we talked about some of the neurological products, but this was started as a neurological product. Eventually what happened is that they had to actually end the trials because all of their patients were losing too much weight. So it was rolled over. It's a Swedish and Danish biotech company, but they rolled it over to a weight loss medication that's now in its phase 3 clinical trials. The average weight loss for that one tends to be around 26 pounds over the course of 6 months.
Wow, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Very good.
And that's not commercially available right now. That's you said.
It's not yet. You would still have to get it through a compounder, but
oh yeah, are you guys have that?
Yeah. Absolutely, and this one is one that requires. The peptides have very, very few side effects. With these small molecules, you definitely is another reason to go to another very knowledgeable practitioner because there are certain caveats just to consider with this one.
Okay, so let's go back, talk about some of the caveats about some of the other medications that we originally talked about.
Sure.
What are some of the side effects of some of these things?
Yeah, so with the peptides, especially the growth hormone releasing peptides, they're relatively few. The biggest thing you see across all peptides is that you have the ability, or I should say, the very, very small possibility of developing an allergic reaction. And that is actually a little bit more prominent with the peptides because they look like foreign material. So your body sometimes likes to develop an antibody response or even an allergic reaction to some of these. But the side effects from just the general molecule are relatively low. The one thing that everyone always needs to consider when talking about growth hormone is their cancer risk. Obviously, growth hormone is proliferative, and we don't want any type of signal to cancers. That's a highly debated topic, one that we could spend a whole talk on. But it is something to be at least aware of, and I encourage everyone to do their own research and talk with their physician before they start that therapy.
Okay, so that kind of leads into my next question: contraindications to these peptides.
Yeah, they're very, very few. The biggest contraindications tend to be anybody with active malignancy. That's definitely something we don't recommend. The other thing is it can sometimes growth hormone can affect your insulin sensitivity levels. So if you're progressing toward type 2 diabetes or already there, it's probably not something that you would want to consider.
Okay, all right. So and typically, is there any time frame that you say you cut someone off in terms of how long they should be on some of these things?
Yeah, it really just all depends. Again, with the secretagogues, the growth hormone secretagogues, there is, I would say in the past, people tend to cycle them. And that's because sometimes there's some downregulation of the natural pituitary function. We take a sort of a different dosing approach, which can prevent that. But again, it's one of those things that can be medically managed. So, with most people, I would say you don't need to cycle. The tesofensine, you might want to do some short cycles of. Again, it's been studied out for 6 months. And we have some other products which, work consistently for weight loss.
Okay, so on some of these things, these are all basically taken in subcutaneous shots. Is that correct? Everything that we've talked about.
Well, the tesofensine is actually an oral capsule once daily.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
And the other things are obviously they're just very, very small. Okay. All right. Yeah. and we talked about how people find doctors and those type of things. So I think that's really pretty good. So let's talk about. I kind of want to switch gears here on stuff, and again, kind of talk a little bit more about some of the other stuff that you guys are doing, kind of in this peptide area. So what else what else is coming down the pike that isn't maybe out there, or is just newly arrived?
Definitely. So that would be really focusing on, I think, two areas. One is the neurological products. We're adding a couple. There's one that I'm really, really excited to offer, which we haven't had a ton of experience with yet. But it's a really exciting product for memory and neurological repair called FGL. It stands for FG loop peptide, and it's again, without getting too much into the weeds, it's a neural cell adhesion molecule which promotes synapse formation. And so as a result, it can help with memory. It can help with neurodegenerative diseases such as, Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. And it has some really, really exciting data. It was awarded over $50 million in Europe just a couple of years ago because of how exciting the original trials were.
Wow. And is that also available now, or is that not available yet?
Yeah, so we'll probably be offering that here shortly. It's currently not available, but within the next few weeks, we really hope to.
Oh, really? Okay, so I mean that's just right around the corner, just a few weeks. Okay, and you said there were two things. What's the second thing?
Yeah, so the other thing is one I probably a little bit less prepared to talk about, but one I'm very excited to talk about, and it's a mitochondrial peptide, and that's another area of sort of a lot happens with mitochondrial dysfunction, and it can lead to a lot of downstream effects like insulin resistance and just general fatigue. And so I think that one's going to hit a lot of things. It might cause some weight loss. It might cause some metabolic benefits just in terms of insulin and inflammation. But it also might increase longevity. There's certain studies out there correlating these things to longer lifespans. So it might sort of hit everything that all in one, and it's a really, really exciting product.
Wow, that sounds pretty exciting. Well, Ryan, I want to thank you, for giving us this information, especially on the weight loss stuff, and also on the other stuff, because I think there's lots of other things that people are listening to that they also have other issues that they need to have dealt with, and the fact that you guys have a way for doctors. For people to find doctors that are familiar with this and familiar with these cutting edge therapies is a great thing and a great service to those. So this is Oris, the old guy from www.oldguytalks.com signing off. And remember, it's all about creating a kick-ass life for yourself and those that you love. If you are interested in creating a kick-ass life for yourself and those that you love, then become a member at oldguytalks.com and get access to the cave area, where not only do I have my interviews with doctors on cutting-edge therapies for erectile dysfunction, but I will have other things that are posted in there that will help you create that kick-ass life that you want for yourself and others. And we're going to be talking a lot about different kinds of vices and virtues. So opt in and become a member